It seems there's always an old part of Dallas being torn down to make way for something modern and new, but all that history isn't necessarily lost. Tonight, we go inside a little-known storage yard where every brick, every old facade is being saved. Kevin Reese has tonight's WFAA Original.
Some really interesting pieces like these.
If you spend just a few minutes.
And that's terracotta. This is cast stone.
With Willis Winters.
1920s, the coping stones, thousands of gold rings, birds and flowers and leaves.
You're like an encyclopedia, buddy.
I am, yeah. And
you get the sense the architectural encyclopedia might also be somewhat of a hoarder.
Certainly after you've toured this site, you're probably thinking that.
But all of it hoarding.
And that's terracotta there.
For a very good reason.
I consider these historical artifacts.
His yard full of artifacts in storage at the Dallas Park and Recreation Department comes from old downtown Dallas, from the days when Main Street looked like this. But each decade of progress brought another wrecking ball, another dump truck.
There's a lot of private buildings that were taken down, especially downtown, over the years that everything was lost.
And old Dallas ever so slowly began to disappear. So when buildings were torn down to make room for Main Street Garden Park.
So this is sort of the Main Street Garden yard.
The park director made sure some of those old artifacts were saved. You'll find them as part of the landscape in the park's northeast corner. The sign from a demolished parking garage, a new home at the corner of Commerce and Harwood, and all this other stuff. He wants to find a new home for it too.
There aren't very many of those buildings left, so this is it.
Like the 3-story tall Indiana limestone carving of the Six Flags Over Texas that used to be at the front of the Tisch and Gettinger department store.
I love this this piece.
Every ton of it is here, waiting for a new home. The Infomart at Oak Lawn and the Stemmons Freeway used to be home to Cobb Stadium.
Beautiful pieces here, javelin thrower, basketball.
They chiseled out and saved the concrete athletes that greeted you at the front door. The original fish fountain from the Women's Museum at Fair Park is here in storage, in case they need to make a carbon copy of it again. The gold-plated eagle that towers over the Cotton Bowl isn't the original either. It's here in storage too.
It was just an unrecognizable blob of concrete because it had been hit by lightning so many times.
And then the last remaining Cotton Bowl Stadium seats when the Dallas Cowboys were just an upstart franchise trying to win their very first games.
You just never know when you might have the opportunity to use these again somewhere.
So is it physically painful for you to think about this being thrown away?
Oh yes, yeah. It's not even conceivable to me that we would discard anything like this. So it'll be here until we find a use for it.
And that's the goal here. Save as many artifacts as they can, find a new use for them, maybe as art in a city park.
So that Dallas citizens and visitors can see these pieces, touch them, and understand the history and I'll call it the lost legacy of the buildings downtown. And I'll also say if there's anybody tearing a building down and has a beautiful piece and needs a place to store it, hold it for future use, I'm their guy.
A guy on a mission to save old Dallas, one piece at a time.
Oh no, we've still got more to go down here.
In East Dallas, Kevin Reese, Channel 8 News.